I think he could lead them in sacks. Also, they're doing some stuff trying to get his, getting closer to the line of scrimmage, but he's more of an inside guy here, where I think he was more of an outside guy at Alabama. But they're going to do some stuff like that too. But, I look around in, Jaden Hazelwood and Matt Landers, two wide receivers they got out of the portal. Terry Hampton, a defensive lineman, Landon Jackson from LSU, Jordan Dominic for Georgia Tech on the defensive line also. You mentioned Drew Sanders, Latavius Brini from Georgia at safety, Dwight McGlothern at cornerback from LSU. These are all guys that are going to impact their program. Most of them are going to start, and at worst being the two deep. And I don't know. I look at the team and I'm like, man, they're really deep. But I also say, well, if they didn't have this guy, there'd be a hole there. We'd be talking about maybe getting a freshman in there or some, one of these other younger guys. And I wonder, I haven't popped over to the Ole Miss side on 24/7. I've just been kind of tunnel vision on Arkansas. It's just, camp's just a grind covering it. But I wonder if Ole Miss feels that way. They had 17 transfers come in. Do they look at their team and go, they're about as deep and big and fast as I can remember? Does South Carolina feel that way? So, just in this age, 17 transfer additions for Ole Miss this year. 2 years ago, that would be unheard of. And a quarter of that class 2 years ago would be like, wow, that's a substantial number of transfers, So I wonder a little bit, does everybody feel that way? But when I look at Arkansas and I compare them to past teams that I've covered, I feel like, and they've had some teams with some game breakers, and, on offense that have really made their team and stuff. But when I look at the whole well-roundedness of the team, this is about as good as I've seen them look.
Trey, last season, Arkansas turned a lot of heads in getting by Texas at home. Really, that was when people started really, I want to say, started paying attention a little bit more to what Sam Pittman was doing there. This year, Arkansas has a chance literally right out of the gates to make another statement, and that is against Cincinnati, a team that was in the college football playoffs last year, a team that is going to be in the Big 12 very, very soon. Arkansas has another chance to early on in the early on to grab people's attention.
They absolutely do. And, Cincinnati lost a lot last year. They lost 9 players in the NFL draft. They lost their starting quarterback. One cornerback was a first-round pick, and the other one was the fourth award winner. So they lost some guys. They, returned a lot on the offensive line. But what I would caution everybody against with Cincinnati is this is a program that is used to winning, and they've had turnover before, not that big, but they've been winning since, I believe Antonio was there, wasn't he? They've been winning since he was there. Brian Kelly was there for a few years, Butch Jones. They've had a really strong program for a number of years, and they're going to bring a good program down to Arkansas. Now, you put them side by side, you're going to say, wow, Arkansas looks a lot better, but there's so much more to it than that with, their scheme and their culture and all that stuff. They've got a system that works, and it's going to be a tough game, I think, but it is in Fayetteville. Arkansas is the home team. Arkansas returns a lot off last year. I mentioned some of the holes they fill here and there with transfers, but, they returned 4 starters on the offensive line, protecting K.J. Jefferson, who's one of the best quarterbacks in the conference, if not the country. And that offensive line, I don't just mean 4 starters, but 2 of those guys are entering their 4th year as starters. The other 2 are entering their 3rd year as starters. There's something to be said about that. Some, real veterans up front on the O-line. And, they lost Traylon Burks. I would say, though, easily, 2 through 12 at wide receiver, Arkansas is better off. You don't just replace Traylon Burks, but 2 through 12, they got a lot better with Jaden Hazelwood, Matt Landers, some of the young guys that are starting to emerge that were really highly regarded. And Traylon Smith entered the transfer portal, but the reason he entered the transfer portal is because Rocket Sanders and Dominic Johnson and A.J. Green, those, younger backs are both 2 of those guys ran for over 500 yards. KJ ran for over 600. They led Power 5 in rushing. I think they got a chance to do that again this year. So, to me, Arkansas is good. They're a good-looking team. They're a good-looking bunch, but the schedule is absolutely brutal, as you mentioned. There's no chill weeks, aside from week 8 when they're on a bye. You mentioned Cincinnati, obviously. That's a tough opener. Early game against South Carolina. South Carolina's trying to take a next step up. Both those games are in Fayetteville. The tricky ones, you start talking about BYU. You play a stretch at Texas A&M, Alabama, Mississippi State, and then BYU on the road, Provo, right before a bye week. Who scheduled that? I think the good news for Arkansas is that BYU plays Notre Dame the week before. But BYU is, they were ranked number 17 in the country last year and got plenty coming back. Liberty with Hugh Freeze later in the season. Week 3, they play Missouri State. And people may say that's no big deal. But, they were in the FCS playoffs last year. Every team, all 12 teams that Arkansas plays was in the postseason, whether a bowl game, college football playoff, or, FCS playoffs. And I mentioned Missouri State for a reason because you guys know who the head coach of Missouri State is.
Bobby Petrino.
Bobby Petrino making his return to Fayetteville for the first time in a decade since being fired in disgrace. It's, so there's some intrigue with that game also. Every single game on the schedule, Liberty and Hugh Freeze. Every game on the schedule has some intrigue.
There is, and Traylon Burks, I got a chance to see him in person at Bryant-Denny. He's such a freakazoid. I think he was undervalued in the draft. I know he's had a couple of physical issues, but I think once he gets past them, he's going to be a star for the Titans. He was unbelievable. But how good can Jaden Hazelwood be? Malik Hornsby, is he a wild card? A guy that has played quarterback, but if you get the ball in his hands, such a dynamic athlete, who's going to is it going to be Hazelwood and Hornsby? Who's going to pick up most of that production that Burks had?
Right. Well, Hazelwood's going to be one of them for sure, and I think probably lining him up in the slot. They like to use a bigger slot receiver, like Burks did last year. So I think that's what they'll do with Hazelwood also. Ketron Jackson was the top-ranked recruit in the 2021 class. I think number 165 nationally. But he's a guy that's got all the ability. He's probably going to be one of the starters also at wide receiver. Warren Thompson. Warren Thompson, I think ESPN had him one of the top 100 prospects in the country when he was coming out. He was a transfer from Florida State the year before. He played a good bit for Arkansas last year. It's another one to keep an eye on. Matt Landers has been the guy that's generating all the buzz in the offseason. He was a former Georgia player and transferred from Georgia to Toledo. Last year at Toledo in 7 games, they run a different kind of offense, but in 7 games, he had 20 catches for 540 yards, averaged like 25 yards a catch. 7 touchdowns. So he's a guy that I think they're really talking about as, we knew he was tall, 6'5", but everybody, when we're asking, like, who's been really tough to guard, we're asking the D-backs, who's been tough to guard in camp, and they all talk about Matt Landers. And not only is he 6'5", but we asked him who's the fastest wide receiver of that group, and that's the guy they point to also. So 6'5" and fastest wide receiver, that sounds pretty dangerous. So he's been a guy that people have talked about a whole lot. And you mentioned Malik Hornsby, who I think is going to have more of a package type deal. A guy that he hasn't done any wide receiver meetings. He always sticks with the quarterbacks, and then it just pops out 15, 20 times a game. So I think they've got a package with him where they'll split him out wide, maybe even shift him back under center and shift KJ out to wide receiver and run in the rounds with him. And, really he's so fast. Like, he's the fastest player on the team. And you can't just have him sitting over there as the backup quarterback just wasting away when he has so much speed. So they're going to find a way to get him on the field. Go routes and hitches basically to kind of counteract each other. But everybody, what I noticed in the spring when they put Hornsby at wide receiver is everybody on the defense took notice. And everybody backed up a little bit because nobody wants to get burnt deep. And he would beat them deep all the time. It's not just some gimmick that they might try. I think they'll really have a package for him. He could be a playmaker for them.
There's a lot of great players. Arkansas's added some. They've recruited well. They've got a great group. But how important was it to keep Barry Odom there on that staff?
Oh yeah, Arkansas is one of 8 schools in Power 5 that retained both coordinators from the previous year. For 3 years. Mm-hmm. So they have a lot of continuity there with Barry Odom, Kendall Browse also. But there's no question, Barry Odom, he's a head coach caliber guy. At some point, he's going to find a situation that he likes. He gets offered a job every year. Kendall Browse gets offered jobs. Kendall Browse is offered the Miami job and chose to stay at Arkansas. And they also have Scott Fountain returning, who's a special teams coordinator for his 3rd year. So I would be surprised if there are many schools out there in the country that have, retained their, 3 coordinators for 3 years like that. So I think that's a good thing for Arkansas. It's not going to last forever, but they got it this year, and this is a good year to have it when you look at the talent on the team. But Barry Odom is, he's innovative. He's smart. Players love him. And, he's Sam Pittman being a younger head coach. I mean, he's 60 now, but being a more inexperienced head coach, this is only his third year, on this level being a head coach. To have a guy like Barry Odom to lean on, who has been a head coach in the SEC also, has been a big benefit, I think.
Yeah, and then you switch back to the offensive side of the ball. Kendall Briles, third year. Talk about the evolution and what are you expecting the most improvement out of from a standpoint of KJ Jefferson? There was a lot of conversation in Atlanta, but where would you rank him in the SEC quarterbacks? I said that you have to have him in the top 5 returning QBs. There's been a lot of turnover, but what area do you expect the biggest part of it? Improvement in his game, I guess, because I thought he took a lot of steps forward last year.
Yeah, I thought he really started to improve on short and intermediate passes last year. He's always been a really good deep ball thrower. Of course, that happens when you have a guy like Traylon Burks running under it, but he's always been good at that. But he improved in that area. I'd expect him to continue to improve short and intermediate this year. And really just his overall well-roundedness, being more the team spokesman. I think this is his team this year. Last year, I think, the offense might have been the case, but, it was really kind of Drew Morgan's team last year. He was the spokesperson for it. And this year, I just feel like it's KJ. So just the overall well-roundedness, leadership, I would say would probably be, the biggest areas for him. And as far as ranking him in the SEC, obviously you have to have Bryce, number 1, Heisman winner. I just think that there's a group right there after that. I'm not, would I trade KJ Jefferson in 10 of Arkansas's 12 games? No, I don't think I would. I think I might toss it up in that 11th game and say, hey, Will Rogers, he's a very good quarterback at Mississippi State. That game's on the road also. Hendon Hooker, could I say that he's definitively better than Hendon Hooker? I don't know if I could say that. Or, people really like Richardson. Levis, I just think there's a group of guys after Bryce Young that are all really good. But I don't know. I'd probably put KJ 2 or 3, or I don't know. Maybe that's just because I'm closer to him. I think he has a chance to have a really good year, though.
Well, and speaking of a really good year, we're talking to Trey Biddy last couple of minutes, hogsports.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. What is the ceiling for this group? I mean, we've had Jake Crane come on with us. He thinks 10-2. We've heard 9-3. I've got him third in the West, but could finish second. You're very impressed with this team with what you've seen. What is the ceiling in your mind with this? The problem though is the schedule. How hard and difficult it is.
It is. That's every year though. I mean, 2 years ago, they played the toughest schedule in the history of college football. Last year was the number 1 ranked schedule. Yep. Yeah, this might be the three-peat for the toughest schedule, so as Pittman would put it. And I think the ceiling, obviously, you've got to have some luck in this game. Even to win a national championship, you've got to have some luck. You don't just skate through the schedule without a couple bounces going your way. If Arkansas gets a couple bounces going their way, I absolutely think 10 wins is possible for this team as the ceiling. Now, things go wrong. You have injuries at the wrong place, and, things just don't work out with the schedule and where your injuries are and things of that nature. You could fall down to 7 in this conference. I think that's the absolute bottom. Man, things went really bad for them if they get 7. But I could see 10. I mean, I would probably settle more on around 9, but, 10 would have to be wow, you can't believe how well everything worked out. But I wouldn't put it past them. I think that they're a capable team of actually reaching that.
I think no doubt. I just think overall the job that Coach Pittman's done has been remarkable. And you made the point to us in the past when he was chosen as head coach is that a lot of time it's about fit. And I think Sam Pittman is a perfect fit for Arkansas. And we're seeing the Hogs and the university reaping the benefits of that, no question. Well, you do a great job, man. We always appreciate your time. We know you're very busy, especially this time of year, all the hours. It's a grind covering fall camp. But let everybody know how to follow your coverage at hogsports.com.
Yeah, for the Arkansas fan out in Alabama, if you're listening, and go to hogsports.com, HAWG sports.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. You can also follow me on Twitter at Trey Biddy. But yeah, come check us out. We're $1 for the first month if you want to see what we got going on over there. It's a great service to have if you're a Hog fan.
No doubt. Well, thank you, man. Have a great rest of your week.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, Trey Biddy helping us break down Arkansas right there. And our good friend Charles Plott has chimed in on the show this morning and he has told us that you can't overachieve. He says you can fully reach your full potential, but you can't overachieve.
Well, he's Plott Performance, so he's the mental game. So he's
right.
That's what he's telling everybody that you.
But now that got me thinking though. But really, can teams overachieve though? I mean, so if Arkansas last year, I mean, we can't say they overachieved, that they reached their full potential. Arkansas could not be any better than what they were last year.
Well, I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
Now we're playing head games.
I mean, I think you can. You can. I guess certainly that. You can win 10 games, you can win 11, you can
right.
But I don't know if that's overachieving. It may just be that they're getting better every year.
Right.
And
now we're playing mind games with our own minds.
Yeah, you're kind of playing mind games with yourself.
Thanks,
but
Charles.
Like Trey Biddy said, this is his 19th fall camp, and it's as impressive a looking team as any you'd ever seen. And I completely agree with what he said at the start too. We don't give enough credit for how bad Chad Morris was either.
Yes,
he recruited well, but he couldn't coach a lick.
Okay, I just got. I mean, now I'm thinking in a whole new
light. The only compliment
I
could give him is that I guess that he didn't tell as many lies as Dirtneck. But I mean, I don't know that he was a liar. He just wasn't a very good coach.
All right, let's get that final break in. When we come back, we'll figure out what tomorrow's headlines today are.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got a new wreck in Decatur at 5th and Austinville. That one may have an injury. Parkway northbound right in front of Parkway Place. No injury reported there. 565 eastbound just before the Parkway southbound exit. That's also going to turn out to be a no injury. 4 Mile Post in Carl T. did report as an injury time. From routine care to heart failure, Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialists on Bob Wallace Avenue have the expertise to care for all matters of the heart. Captain Nick in the North Parkway, Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
The world champs are back. The Braves are out to defend their world championship. And behind Matt Olson, Ronald Acuna, Dansby Swanson, Max Fried, and this loaded 2022 roster, a repeat is within reach.
Here goes Ozzie, 2-2 on the way, hit well. Deep center field. Might have ourselves a tie ball game. You betcha.
And we'll bring you every huge moment of the Braves 2022 season right here on the Atlanta Braves Radio Network.
Mercury Motors is your car and van rental headquarters. You can rent the vehicle you need today. Family in town, sporting event, church function, no matter what your need, Mercury Motors has you covered with a wide selection of cars and vans available for rent. They have 12-passenger Mercedes Sprinter vans, 12-passenger Ford Transit vans, 15-passenger Ford Transit vans, and 15-passenger Chevrolet Express vans. They have 2 locations, Highway 72 in Athens or Max Luther Drive in Huntsville.
DQ presents Picture this. Picture the burger of your dreams. It's on the new DQ Signature Stack Burgers menu. A lineup of 5 premium burgers like the Flamethrower Signature Stack Burger and Loaded A1 Signature Stack Burger with 100% seasoned real beef patties, melty cheese, and a combo of top-notch toppings and sauces galore. This dream burger is calling your name. But it isn't a dream. You're ordering at the DQ drive-thru. Hello. The DQ Signature Stack Burgers lineup. Try it today. DQ. Happy tastes good.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
When you call most roofing companies, all you'll hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming. At Fleming Roofing and Restoration, we're focused on your needs, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement. Folks around here have trusted Fleming since 1965 for all their residential and commercial roofing needs. And as the area's storm damage experts, Fleming knows all the ins and outs of the insurance claims process. Log on FlemingHSV.com to schedule your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Chapman Commercial Realty, your source for Alabama commercial real estate. Chapman Commercial Realty has the experience and expertise you're looking for when making commercial real estate decisions. If it's office space, retail space, investment property, or project development, Chapman Commercial Realty is your answer. Call Bill Chapman today at 256-656-8413. That's 256-656-8413. Or find them online at chapmancommercialrealty.com.
From the Alabama Crimson Tide to the Atlanta Braves, we are 97.7 ESPN The Zone. This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama, located online at universitykia.com. It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone, and continuing with our show today.
Oh,
there we go. Does that make you feel better?
Yeah. That's the classic right there.
That was. And then you brought up this one as well, and we'll get to the other one here in just a second. Here is that one.
Didn't want to stop at a whammy.
No, you did not. You did not want to get
My favorite one was the moonwalk, by the way.
Oh, the little whammy moon.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, 256-576-4977. That's the number to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. We got a little bit of time left on the show this morning. If you want to get in on the show, you can.
Which first team?
You can get in on the show.
Yeah, you can, and but I will say this: you mentioned it on Zone Center this morning, but it was a big win for the Braves last night. They swept the Red Sox 8-4. The debut of Vaughn Grissom, their top prospect, who came up to play second base due to the injury to Orlando Arcia, and in his first major league game, hits a bomb in his third at bat out of the Fenway, and where he grew up wanting to play. And then he gets another base hit, 2 for 4 in his debut. So that was big for the Braves. And big 3-run homer from, also, and then I just thought it was big for Kyle Wright, too, because he had a rough start against New York. He's going to have another big one coming up, but he bounced back, only gave up 1 run in 6 innings, only threw 77 pitches. But no doubt that the Braves needed that 2-game sweep after the struggles against the Mets, because the Mets and the Phillies are still red hot, no question about it. Both
of them got wins last night, did the Mets and the Phillies. Both of them coming away victorious. Mets grabbed the win, Phillies grabbed the win. So the Braves really needed that win to stay kind of right where they are.
Yeah,
and this series, though, and this one here, it was really funny because if you paid attention to Twitter at all during this series, this was a homecoming, and it was really funny because Boston University got involved in it, because the Braves actually went back home to Boston because that is originally where they got their start. They were the Boston Braves from 1871 to 1952. Boston was where they called home, and then they moved to Milwaukee in 1953, was their first year in Milwaukee, And then they ultimately left for Atlanta in that 1966 season, was their first year.
Yeah, the Boston Braves. They were the
Atlanta.
Boston Braves.
But they were home to the Boston Braves, and
interesting.
Boston University said, hey, welcome back. I mean, did they welcome back the Braves? Because where Boston University's stadium is right now, their track stadium and all their stuff, that was where the Boston Braves originally played. The home plate is still there to where you can see where the home plate was. So it was kind of a fun nostalgia trip for the Braves going back to Boston for this quick 2-game series. A lot of people kind of ushering in.
Well, I mean, it was, like I said, big 3-run homer for Ozuna, big one for Grissom, and they got to win 8-4. Kyle Wright having a great year, 14-5, 3.14 ERA. We're very proud of him. I believe he's tied for the in the lead in wins in the National League. So he's had a breakout season, and it continues. And now they're actually on the way to Florida. They're going to have a 4-game series with the Marlins, including the doubleheader coming up this weekend. But then they take on the Mets back in Atlanta. So it's going to be some big games for the Braves coming up.
All right, guys, big week for us coming up as well. Next week, high school football going to get underway. Jamborees are going to be tomorrow night. We got high school football starting 1 week from tomorrow. See everybody back here 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. And don't forget, download the app today.
Guys, when we were 20, we never had to worry about spontaneity. And now that